What's going on, everyone? So I did a video diving into the Denver Nuggets and how I really think that they need to explore potential trades. I really do think that they need to at least gauge what can they get for, a Michael Porter Jr., a Jamal Murray, right? Aaron Gordon. Although Aaron Gordon's probably the last guy I would trade just because, he's that Swiss Army knife for this team, right? He does the dirty work, works hard, rebounds, right? On any given night, go get you 20, right? He's a guy that I think is probably the most valuable, right, for what you need. Obviously, Jamal Murray, being most valuable doesn't mean necessarily the best player, but Jamal Murray, he hasn't been it, and he hasn't been it for a while. Even the year that they won the championship, right, he wasn't great, right? He had his games, he had his moments, right? That outside of that Lakers series, though, he was different in every series, right? He had his struggles. Even in the finals, he didn't have these great games, right? It wasn't what it was, in the 2020 season where he's just single-handedly winning games and taking over series and going toe-to-toe and dropping 50 pieces and stuff like that, right? It's just, he's not the guy. He doesn't take care of his body. He doesn't condition the way you need to. He's constantly getting hurt because of it, right? Michael Porter Jr., he's just incredibly inconsistent at times. When he's on, he's special, right? When he's cooking, you're just give him the ball and get out of his way. But it seems like it's getting fewer and fewer far between with Michael Porter Jr. than it has in previous years. And I just think the course that Denver is on, it just isn't working. Right? And no one would be shocked if they're in the conference finals or win an NBA championship again. I mean, they got Jokic, who is still one of, if not the best players in the world, right? We saw what he did. I mean, look, it was Jokic had no real help on a nightly basis, and they still pushed Minnesota to a 7-game series, right? Jokic was putting up historically great games to try to get them wins. And they were up 20 and probably should have still won that series and then just botched it, right? Because guys didn't show up. Jamal Murray, struggled. Michael Porter Jr. was so bad, Mike Malone had to come to his defense. That's how bad he was, right? So again, I just think that they need to retool. I think that they need to look in a different direction. And one of the things that that popped into my head towards the end of that video was Jimmy Butler, right? Now, I've talked Houston has been linked to Jimmy Butler, right? He makes no sense for them, right? They're a young team that is on the right trajectory. They don't need to sell the farm to go get a Jimmy Butler. And I don't even think that would necessarily make them a contender. I don't think they'd win a championship with Jimmy Butler by themselves, right? But a team like Denver, who needs to win now, right? Is in this position where they kind of need a retooling here, right? Do you look to go get a Jimmy Butler and look to maybe move a Michael Porter Jr. or something like that to just give you that toughness, give you that guy that can take over down the stretch whenever you need it? Also with Jimmy Butler, he's one of those guys that he doesn't care whether he gives you 5 or 50. He just wants to win, right? So he's a guy that if Jamal Murray is just going off, right, and he is just having his game, here, go ahead, man. Do your thing. I'll play defense. I'll sacrifice my body. I'll dive for loose balls. I'll do whatever you need. He just gives that toughness, that urgency, that kind of swagger that you need. Him playing alongside Jokic, I think would be incredible. Imagine him as a cutter and Jokic just dropping off, and his physicality and the way he can finish through contact, right? Just gives you that guy that he gives you what you want Jamal to be. Right, that guy that can just take over games down the stretch, have the confidence, just be that guy on a nightly basis, give you that consistency. Right, playoff Jimmy is a real thing. Jimmy Butler likes to pretend like it's not, but it is. We all know it is. The numbers say it is. Everything about it shows that it is. And who would want to play Jimmy Butler and Jokic in a 7-game series? Nobody. Nobody wants to play Jokic, period, in a 7-game series. Then you add in Jimmy Butler, right? I think there's few teams that make sense for Jimmy Butler, right? The Warriors definitely, I think, are one of them just because you got Steph Curry. You're on this short window timeline. Same thing with Denver. Now, Jokic, I do still think has at least a handful of seasons, but there's also the risk of at any day or any offseason, Jokic should just be I want to stay with my horses, right? And just retire, right? That's always kind of been a thing. How long does he actually play? He could probably play it because he's not super reliant on his athleticism or anything. He could probably play till he's 40, right? But is that something that he wants to do? Is that something that he's yeah, let's do that, right? So I feel if you can get that guy in Jimmy Butler, yes, his age, yes, the injury concerns, but he's a guy as long as he's healthy come playoff time, you're still going to be a good regular season team. Come playoffs, Jimmy Butler has done more with less than probably anybody in the league, right? Like, so I think there is this argument to be made. Again, it's not my favorite move, not my favorite trade for them, but it is a move that I think if were to happen, everyone would be like, that could be tough, right? Like that might be what they needed, right? Like that might be something that changes the landscape of this team. Right? And just get you back to that toughness that they can have. Have a guy in Jimmy Butler who can carry the workload on any given night, right? But like I said, when guys are cooking and other guys are playing, I'll give you 15 and 5 assists, 5 or 6 rebounds, and just lock down defensively and just do the dirty work, right? Like they could use that guy, and you still could look to move like a Jamal Murray, kind of like retool. But I just think if you can get like a Jimmy Butler, if you can get a Jokic, right? Also, I think Jimmy Butler and Jokic would just take so much pressure off of each other, right? Like, because Jimmy Butler, he's the guy in Miami, right? Like, where if he goes to a team like Denver, right now he doesn't have to do everything for them to have a shot at winning, right? Like now it's like, okay, even if he does want to, because there's questions about Jimmy on how serious does he take the regular season? So if he has one of those games where he's like, whatever, we're playing, the Wizards today, like, just half-ass it, right? Like, Jokic is just so good. Like, I think that they could help each other, right? I think that they could balance each other out. I think that they could really do wonders for each other in a lot of ways, and kind of give you that a-hole in the locker room, give you that a-hole that kind of pushes Jamal. Maybe you can kind of get on Jamal's behind and be like, dude, like, aren't you a professional? Aren't you making, $40 million a year to eat bonbons in the office? Like, come on, dude. Like, they might just need that. Or you could look to, like I said, retool entirely, right? Just keep Jimmy, Jokic, and Aaron Gordon as your nucleus, and then try to upgrade in other areas, or try to get different looks in other areas, right? Can you get a legit 3-and-D guy, for your starting roster, and then can you go get a different type of point guard, maybe an athletic slashing point guard, right? Maybe in the offseason you can kind of retool some stuff and work some stuff out. Maybe go get a Bruce Brown back or something for your 6th man off the bench or something, right? Like, because he's not worth $22 million, and he even knew he wasn't going to get that. So I think he might go hey, yeah, let me go back to a Denver or something like that. I just think Denver needs to do something, right? They need to kind of pick a direction, but they can't completely tear it down. And it's just what else is available, right? Like, there's teams that I think, like I mentioned earlier, Houston, stay the course. You are headed in the right direction. You are on trajectory and pace to probably win a championship, if not several, right? Like, just stay the course, make the right moves, make the right decisions. You could be there, right? But then there's teams like Denver that I just think the course that they're on right now is not the right one, right? If they win, it's because of Jokic, right? Like, it's not because they just have the stellar roster again. And they've just kind of made the wrong moves and decisions the last few seasons, and it's kind of punished them. And I mean, even KCP talked about how, hey, the Lakers should have beat us. We were exhausted. We were tired. It's just it's not really what you want to hear, right? Like, and then you still forced a Game 7 against Minnesota, and it's just you're in this position where it's you got staying the course, I don't think gets you there. Right? I just don't think you can rely on Jamal. It's just Jamal just seems to be getting worse and worse and worse. Right? You don't have to trade these guys, but I think you at least field the offers. I think you at least listen to the discussions. You at least listen to the conversations, kind of make adjustments accordingly, right? Figure out what you need to do with Jimmy. Work out a, kind of shorter deal. I don't know how many teams would be paying Jimmy $40-50 million a year, right? But you could be hey, Jimmy, let's go for a run this season, opt in next season, right? And then we'll work it out, right? Worst case scenario, he walks, right? And he does go elsewhere. I don't really necessarily think that'd be the worst thing for Denver, right? Because now you just cleared a bunch of salary and you can maybe retool and work some stuff out, right? There's a bunch of potential free agents in the offseason that maybe you can kind of revamp this roster. I don't know. I don't hate the idea, but it's just man, they got to do something, right? And it's just what else is there available? Yeah, a Brandon Ingram, maybe, right? But you have his problems health-wise, and then is he the guy that you can rely on as a second option? Right, where I just think what you're going to get from Jimmy come playoffs, right? You know what Jimmy's going to bring. And I just think, and chances are you're probably playing Boston in the finals if you get to the finals, right? So who just has been in Boston's mental the last, 5 seasons? Jimmy, right? Like, so that'd be great just for like the mental warfare, right? Like that you could put on that team. And like I said, I mean, just Jimmy and Jokic would just be so tough, right? Like there's very few teams that I think make sense for Jimmy and that I think Jimmy makes sense for. But Denver is one of those teams, right? If you could turn Jamal Murray or, Michael Porter Jr., plus whatever filler and stuff like that you have to do. But if you could do something like that and go get a Jimmy Butler, I think it's at least worth exploring personally. But as always, this is a discussion and I pass question to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? I feel what are your thoughts? Do you agree? Disagree? Kind of mixed in the middle? However you feel, whatever your thoughts are. I love to hear it either way, so let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me out. It's me enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Now subscribe to the channel, hit that subscribe button, turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.